Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon Prather, and I'm the Marketing Cultivator at GIS Inc. I'd like to thank you for joining us for the second episode in our Going Beyond Release Ready with Esri's Geospatial Cloud series. During this mini-series, we'll showcase 3 of the hottest Esri technologies in our countdown to the Esri UC 2019. Last week, we discussed Esri's ArcGIS Indoors, and next week, we're going to focus on the utility network. We encourage you to catch them all. Today's episode is titled ArcGIS Hub, Centered Collaboration, Leveraged Visualization. We'll explain why two-way community engagement is important, talk about Esri's ArcGIS Hub solution, and how you can get started with your own initiatives leveraging ArcGIS Hub capabilities. We encourage you to post questions throughout the webinar and would appreciate you taking a minute to answer the survey questions at the conclusion of this episode. This webinar is being recorded. Now, without further delay, I'm excited to welcome our presenter, Steve Mulberry. Steve Mulberry currently serves as the Senior Enterprise Architect and Sales Engineer at GIS Inc. and has over 28 years experience in GIS, creating and architecting enterprise systems. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you all hub a good webinar. Steve?
Hey, thanks, Shannon. And for the record, you're killing me on your play on words there with these webinars. It's fun, though. Okay, let's get started. So I wanted to start the presentation and kind of explain and share with you why I think you should listen to me personally and to GIS Inc. in general. And I think this is going to help set the stage for the context for what we're going to talk about and what we're going to show today. So first off, GIS Inc. has been a partner of Esri since 1991, and recently when Esri changed over to their new partner designation program, we became a platinum business partner and have been since the starting of that program. And we take a great pride in that platinum status. There's a lot of work that goes into play there to achieve that and maintain that. Yeah, ever since our creation in 1991, we prided ourselves on early adopting of technology across the board, mainly with the Esri platform, making sure that we stay up to date and aware of what's happening in that field, but across the technology space from GIS to location-based technology, both from an indoor and an outdoor perspective, right? We are very aware that GIS has a place indoors and outdoors. We pride ourselves also on designing, deploying, and managing Esri platform deployments, whether that's in the cloud, on premise, within online. We've got a handful of folks that that do this on a day-to-day basis. And we've been doing them for all kinds of clients, right? Our state and local government clients, our federal clients, our private sector clients, and over the years we've been building up this partner ecosystem with different technology companies, especially when we talk about technology that brings GIS indoors. And so we have that ecosystem with our partners, not just Esri, but for those that help us with implementing different technologies within different spaces. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got over 90, almost 100 now, architects, engineers, developers, analysts, those kind of folks that wake up every day looking at the platform and finding ways to implement that platform, deploy that platform, and help bring insight into your organization using the Esri tools and suite of products there. I worked at Esri for over 11 years. I've been at GIS Inc. now for 10 years. I've been in the space for almost 29 years now. So those bad dad jokes are very well in my repertoire. And so I wanted to give you sort of a footprint of what we look like. And I think this is important too, because we are a distributed company. We have a lot of folks that work throughout the country, and it was about 10 years ago this conscious decision to open it up. This gave us the ability to find some really good talent across the country, and as you can see at the bottom row there where we have our analysts and our architects and developers and engineers, they literally spread out across the country. And one thing to note here is that we are an ESOP company. We're an employee-owned company, which but again, I think gives us a different mindset when we wake up every morning knowing that we're going to work for ourselves and for you as the customer. So why did we pick this title? Why did we come up with Going Beyond Release Ready with Esri Geospatial Cloud? I think it's important for you to understand from a partner's perspective. Becoming an Esri partner, it's much more than just signing a contract and handing over some cash, right? That's not what it's about. And I think it's really important to understand where we take this mindset of becoming a release, not just a partner, but a release ready partner across the board. So I want to highlight sort of three components that kind of help illustrate this concept that, where we come from a GIC perspective, being this partner program. So as I mentioned, we are a platinum partner. Now that means that that we can build upon the ArcGIS platform, which you'll probably be hearing a lot at the UC this year, if not already, this concept of a geospatial cloud, right? The evolution of the platform. And so we, as a platinum business partner, are able to build upon this platform, implement enterprise systems across the board, and in conjunction, take the information and data and create actionable insights from that using the platform, right? This is a very important part of becoming a platinum partner. And Esri allows us partners to kind of extend our capabilities and our skill sets, and for one, become release ready, which means that it's up to us to keep pace with the Esri technology, make sure that we're ahead of the game, that we're looking at the beta releases and the pre-releases, and we're learning how to install, deploy, configure, work against those platforms. We have on-staff industry experts that can look very closely at these technologies and help us get to that release ready status so that we can help you deploy these. And you can see several of those out to the left there where we're already designated as like ArcGIS Online Specialty and release ready. So when 10.7 comes out, 10.7.1 comes out, we're ready to help you make that jump as well. And I think, and thirdly, Esri also allows us to become sort of this specialty designation with within very specific technologies like ArcGIS Hub and ArcGIS Indoors and the utility network. And as Esri releases these specialty designations, then they allow us to kind of work to that point, get to that qualification where we showcase special skills and experts and experience within those specific technologies, that we can deploy and deliver solution using those technologies, and that we can provide value-added services to you as you implement things like Indoors, Hub, and utility network. And so we take we take this very seriously, these 3 points when it comes to the platform and how we can prepare ourselves in order to prepare you for using these technologies, which brings us today to Hub. Or we talked about Indoors in our last webinar. If you missed that, you can review the recording. But today we're going to talk about Hub. And I'm going to throw a term out there, open data. Why does open data matter? Because this is really the evolution of government opening up the data portals and sharing information to its citizens, right? And Hub is the way to do that. So why does open data matter? There's a report done by the Pew Research Center titled Americans' Views on Open Government Data, done back in 2015. And it's a pretty comprehensive report, but in gist, it says that 65% of Americans search online for information about their government. But what's interesting is that less than 10% of those that are searching report finding, not being able to find what they need. And I find that very interesting. I've worked for state governments, I worked for local municipalities, and I've even worked for federal government throughout my career. And it's interesting that now, we're almost 2020 here, and we're still having this sort of discussion about how we can get at information from citizens' perspective and how governments can share that information. And if you look through this report in a little bit closer, they talk about, you know, those individuals that they surveyed and how they use the internet to find data and information pertaining to the government. And I'm going to focus on the top three categories there, where folks were searching the federal government, state government, and local government. And you can see the percent of adults who use the internet to try and do that. And try to find information out. You can see some of the other categories there broken down. Interesting enough, it drops all the way down to using 311 services. You know, only 2% of folks actually do that. And basically, this report is telling us that very few Americans think governments are very effective at sharing information. And in fact, you can see that only 5% from a federal and state level think that it's effective at all. And local governments jump up a little bit more at a 7% satisfaction there. So it's an interesting report. If you can Google it real quick and kind of see, kind of look through what they're talking about there, and maybe find some ways that we can help. You know, I've been there. I've been at this federal, state, and local level, and part of my role was to serve those who I had stewardship over with and provide that information. It's just interesting to kind of see how they reported back the statistics. But the final note on this report that I want to share, which I think is so important about where Hub can help answer all these questions, or help at least facilitate this sharing of this information in a different way, is that this final statement from the report, where relatively few Americans reported using government data sources for monitoring what's going on. In meaning what's going on in any industry or topic, like health or education or capital improvement projects or expenditures or whatever it might be, that we as citizens of our community rarely go to the government's portals to find out and look at information. Why is that, right? Why is that? Because this next slide, I think, is going to kind of jump from one paradigm to the next. And I really like Esri produces and allows us to look inside of ArcGIS Online and see what's really going on. And this is a screenshot, but I want to jump to the live website because I want to kind of show you what's going on from a spatial context. So now I know not everybody uses ArcGIS Online or knows what it is, but this is a live site showing the spatial searches for information across the globe. And if I zoom, and it's a lot of information here. If I zoom in here on the United States a little bit, you'll kind of see that information as it renders in. There's a lot of folks out there searching for information from a state level, government, country level, even down to the city level. So if on one hand, we as citizens find it hard to find information and think that the governments are ineffectively sharing information, but on the other hand, we're looking at how folks are using ArcGIS Online to truly search and find and look at spatial information. There's got to be a way to connect the dots. There's got to be a way to bring both environments and both activities together into one place, and that's where I think the Hub can play a role. Now, it's not going to be the answer to everything, right? Hub's not going to answer the call to everything, because you have to actually implement it, you have to actually use it, you have to actually keep it up to date before it to be effective. But it definitely gives us the tools that we need to help bridge the gap between that 5 and 7% effectiveness to a much higher number. So let's jump back and let's look at Hub in general and what it is and what it can do and how we can leverage this technology. So in short, I know we don't have a whole lot of time today, so I just want to kind of, again, a quick shout out. As you're coming to the UC, there's going to be some great sessions that we're going to highlight here. This is just going to be the introduction to how we as a business partner see Hub and how we can help start this discussion with you in finding ways to implement it. So on the surface, ArcGIS Hub is really three components. It's a cloud platform that is truly easy to use and easy to configure. It's a mechanism that allows us to collaborate with our internal folks as well as our external communities, citizens, organizations, those folks. And it's all data driven through this term called initiatives. And we're going to talk about initiatives here a lot because it's information or data driven topics. And these initiatives help drive and help us focus our attention on what's important and give that information out to the citizens. If you remember that opening graphic where we talked about the sort of the three, what we see are hot topics within the platform, an indoors, hub, and utility network, they all play a role in the geospatial cloud, right? That's the platform. That's the evolution of where Esri's come from way back. You know, what is it? Esri celebrating 50 years this year at the UC, so it's an incredible evolution of the technology, getting us to a place where we really have no excuse from a technology standpoint to not leverage this platform to at least provide the capabilities of sharing and collaborating and working with our citizens. And you see two screenshots here. I really like what Roanoke has done with the open data portal at the hub, as well as Johns Creek. And so I want to kind of highlight these two real quick before we move on. So let me jump back over here to my web browser, and we'll start off with the County of Roanoke. So this is our open data portal, which I think if you first look at it, if you've never seen this interface, has no footprint of ArcGIS, right? This is a very nicely configured and branded a website that allows individuals to come to the county and scroll through and find data that's useful for them. They can search, or they can find a very specific information based on the categories here. They can look at applications that are important to the county, that what the county sees as important to share with information out to the citizens, whether it's site selection or tax information or property information. Those applications become quickly available, and then you get to these initiatives, right? These actionable items and topics that mean something to this region. And here we see that they can explore the PSAP, looking at the next gen 911 standards within the organization. They can look at the pipeline map for the Mountain Valley and the broadband projects. These are very specific initiatives that help guide citizens through what information is being gathered, shared, and collaborated on, and take part of this process. Same thing with Johns Creek. Johns Creek has a very good presence here, branded in their style, that gives us sort of the same kind of walkthrough, though. Visualizations of information that's important to them, right? Learn how to use, how to be involved with this information, how to collaborate back with, and look at specific information that might be important to you as a citizen, and or that in this case the Johns Creek finds or sees it important to share that information out, right? So these are really nice examples of how these two communities have been using Esri's open data portal for years now to help bring and change that gap, that chasm between the 5 and 7% to what should be up into the 80s and 90s% there. So we got this concept of it's easy to use cloud platform, runs on geospatial cloud, it's collaboration, and it's information driven through initiatives. So we got to think, when we think hub, we got to think initiative. We have to kind of re-engineer our brain here a little bit to think from an initiative standpoint when we want to implement hub. So basically what we're thinking about here, and I stole this graphic off of the Esri's ArcGIS Hub site, which basically they're saying, it's a process of translating aspirations into initiatives. Okay, and then from there we take initiatives and we create goals, and then we take goals and we create actions, and we take actions and then we get results. So it's sort of this evolution of coming from aspirations to initiatives to goals to actions to results. And when we do this, we have to think about this from the consumer's perspective, right? We're really good from a spatial data concept, but thinking inward, right? When we think about who from our departments and our agencies within the governments, how they use and will interact with this information. But we got to rethink and look at from an outward facing perspective, how are the citizens, how would my mother find value, and what kind of things that are most important to those kinds of individuals. And we have to communicate those goals very clearly, right? Define in detail the comprehensible terms that help again clearly communicate what we're trying to share and need collaboration back from the citizens. And it's important that we tackle those pressing issues, right? And be specific when we tackle these issues. Right? It's one thing to have an aspiration of having a healthy and prosperous community, and then our initiative might be to address homelessness. But again, those are broad terms, right? Those are broad things. What specifically are we going to do to address homelessness, or to fight opioid addiction, or to improve walkability, or to, whatever those initiatives become? We've got to hone in on those. I'm going to show you some examples of that. And then finally, we got to be flexible. We got to be willing to change, and change when it's needed, to keep the hub relevant with the information that we're working with. So we've got this concept of SMART, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We all are familiar with setting goals. We got to think of the same way when we're talking about initiatives and configuring those initiatives. When you think of initiatives, think of nothing more than bundles. It's bundles of ArcGIS items, things like web maps and data and events and dashboards and surveys, all configured through a web interface designed by you. You saw Roanoke, you saw Johns Creek. They didn't have to have web developers per se do that, but they did have to design that and configure it to their liking. One of the most common examples is Los Angeles Vision Zero initiative within their hub. And basically there's these items, right? These bundles of items that make up initiatives. There's banners, there's narratives, performance, apps, catalog, and you can get as comprehensive as you need to, but basically it's stating the initiative, specifically defining the goals, showing performance improvements, providing access to information and data, and then engaging with the community to help continue the data collection, continue the story, continue the narrative, and provide back and forth communication. If we compare that to what Johns Creek had, they had a very similar concept here, in that they honed in a little bit specifically here. So let me jump back to the Johns Creek site. Let me scroll back up to the top here, and one of their initiatives is financial transactions. So if you click on that link, you'll see now it hones in on their narrative, it hones in on their performance measures, it hones in on the information and the data that's providing this, any maps or applications that help illustrate the story, any ways to collaborate and work and provide information to this to help fuel the initiative, help fuel the goals, so that we can get to the actions and the results that come from this process here. Very important that we think differently as we go through this. So how do you get started? What are some of the things you can do? So here's sort of a list of topics that we like to discuss with our customers when they're getting started. So first off, you have to look at examples, see what others are doing. There's lots of them out there. You can go to the Esri's got a really nice a demo site where you can see all the folks out there that have implemented open data, and take a look at some examples there. Then it's important that you educate and outreach within your organization and within your community. Let people know what you're about to do. Get some feedback. Do some outreach to kind of help set the stage. Then, like any project, we got to do some requirements gathering. It's important to define these teams that are going to help drive the hub platform and the initiatives. From that, you build out your goals and your targets. You assess to make sure this is really going to be beneficial and relevant. You break down these initiatives in detail, and determining what's going to power these initiatives from an application, from a mapping, from an engagement standpoint. And then you rinse and repeat, right? You do that for as many initiatives that are important for you, but tackle the most pressing ones. But you don't have to have 10 initiatives. One could do it, 2, 3. What's most important in your organization today, right, or in the future, and help drive those. And then you configure and deploy Hub. You notice I didn't say develop, right? This is a configured platform. And I don't know if you noticed, but most of you probably already have access to some form or flavor of the Hub. So right now, and when you go out and search and look for ArcGIS Hub, you basically get it in 3 flavors. Okay, there's a Hub Basic, which is what used to be called Open Data. This was the Open Data Portal. It's now ArcGIS Hub Basic, and it comes with ArcGIS Online, and you already have the capability of building sites, pages, and exposing your open data, just like you saw with Roanoke and Johns Creek and hundreds of others out there doing it right now. On the far right with Enterprise, what's interesting is you already get with the platform, if you deploy this on premise, you get sites and pages as part of your enterprise. If you have ArcGIS Online as part of your subscription, then you also get that. So you can do sites, pages, and open data within your organization if you do an on-premise environment. But what's interesting is that just like any of the technology that Esri's produced over the years, right, there's a need to bring that on-premise for security reasons. And so don't be surprised if you see, what's available in the premium level of Hub being migrated into on-premise for those folks that sit behind firewalls and in secure facilities. So we have ArcGIS Hub Basic, we have Premium, which if you looked at this in the past, there's a really nice entry point into starting up and using the complete platform where you can define initiatives, events, messages, and communities. And then if you're in a secure environment and you need to have that capability to bring on-premise, then Enterprise will help you achieve that. So let me kind of close up here with a couple good examples here. Let me start off by showing you this one. This one, the Feds Feeds Family. This took the entire concept of the hub from sites all the way down to initiatives and created a really nice user experience that people can get involved, they can record, and they can see. I'm going to show you the kind of results of that here real quick. I'll jump over here. This is the site. You can search for it. It's up and running, but very short. It's not a long drawn one. This is a very short website. It gives me my narrative, my initiatives right here, and then I can get in and look and get involved with this goal, this concept, and this initiative. And one thing I want to show you is under the results here, because it's always important to show the actions that are the results of the goals that we set up with the initiatives, with our aspirations. And here you can see that, and this is live, so you can jump down to it. You can see though that they're using part of those ArcGIS items, right? These bundles of items build up the initiatives. And so we can see that this is just an operations dashboard that's embedded. We've got a map that's embedded down here. We have data coming in, we have charts. All this stuff just fuels these initiatives and help us keep the information live, relevant, and up to date. And so while I'm here, it's not that complicated to get started. Once you have access to Hub and you set up your community and you have an administrator set up to kind of start the process, I want to jump right over here to on the initiative tab under the gallery. Esri has made it really nice to jumpstart your process with pre-built initiatives, and you can start from one of these. Maybe you want to start off with the homelessness one here, and I can preview what this one looks like, which gives me the banner, the narrative, the apps, all those elements that make up this initiative, and I can add or subtract or configure this to fit the information and the data that I want to share with my citizens and how I want them to interact with it. All right, so a really nice jumping off point. They've done a lot of improvements with Hub to get you started and to get you running right out of the gate with this information from a startup cost to a deployment and usability standpoint. So let me give you some insight. If you come into the UC, there's 3 sessions that I want to pull out here. I think that would be interesting to you to kind of see and get an introduction to Hub, look at best practices, and kind of get started, jump started there. But there's lots of information out there on the Hub. Let me jump back here and kind of show you that. Here's a couple of links for learning more about Hub. You can get subscribed to the newsletter and look at Twitter feeds and kind of see what the community is doing out there. If you come into UC, look at the UC agenda, find and search for anything Hub related. You'll see lots of good examples out there and things to do. And with that, I'd like to kind of remind everybody to come visit us. Booth 919, we can help guide you through that discussion process, kind of figure out what's best for you and how to implement the Hub within your organization. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steve. That was awesome. We'll reach out individually to all those that have submitted questions. We're just at the end of the 30-minute segment, so I just want to appreciate all of you for taking some time with us and enjoy the great rest of your day.